That's right, it sprung up on us pretty quickly, but the World Cup is here, and I'm going to give you a World Cup guide. We're going to let you know what you need to know about every single team in the World Cup so you can watch those games with that lovely little bit of knowledge that you need. Qatar have been playing as much international football as possible to prepare themselves for this tournament due to fear of embarrassment, to be honest. They were also invited to the CONCACAF Gold Cup and held a good account of themselves, beating the likes of El Salvador and Honduras. Their league is strong with the likes of James Rodriguez, Santi Cazorla, and even Xavi having turned out in recent years, and their squad is also made up entirely of players who play in the league. Qatar plays a system that is based on being tough to beat whilst not being inherently negative, don't mind conceding possession to allow fast transitions on the break. They have an underdog style to them, and as far as key players go, the standout star is Akram Afif, who we talk about in the one to watch video for every single team, so go check that one out once you've enjoyed this one. He is a hybrid player that can play as an inverted winger on the left or as a second striker. He plays his club football at Al Sadd and was once at Villarreal. He's a creative goal scorer, but is also susceptible to a booking, so watch out for that. Or don't. Ecuador qualified for this World Cup despite losing 6 matches. Such is the beauty of South American qualifying. They are an underdog as far as qualification is concerned and ultimately focus their campaign around beating teams around their level, such as Bolivia, Paraguay, and drawing a lot of their other games, actually. Despite being massive underdogs, there is a lot to like about this Ecuadorian team, with the squad having a young contingent of absolute ballers coming through. Tactically, they play a very direct style that involves a lot of long balls towards the target man, Estrada, whilst Mena is a fleet-footed option playing just behind him. They have quality in the fullback areas, most notably Estupinian of Brighton as that attacking fullback for them, but this direct style poses a lot of problems for South American teams who often don't have the tallest of defenders. In terms of key player, it's got to be Michael Estrada. He has made himself into an unlikely cult hero for the Ecuadorians. His physical target man style allows them to play direct and bring their technical players into the game. Senegal look excellent going forward in qualifying, scored 15 goals in their 6 qualifying first stage games. They have an incredibly solid spine that a lot of African teams have trouble breaking down. Mane is everything for this side. Mane is targeted by the opposition in every single game and sometimes is forced to drop deep to receive the ball, and Senegal have been criticised for having a very defensive midfield at times, but this generation is very much the golden generation of Senegalese football, and they have drawn in a big Senegalese fan base following on from their AFCON win earlier this year. The tactics of the Senegal side largely revolve around being very solid in the centre and using Mane and Sarr's brilliance out wide to cause damage and potentially find the target man, that is Dju. Despite being a left winger on paper, Mane goes wherever he wants in this team, and the game plan is very much pass to Mane and repeat. Sarr is often free on the right, with most teams focusing on stopping Mane. Key player? Yep, you've guessed it, Sadio Mane. He drags his team along most of the time, and without him, they wouldn't be in this World Cup. He's a big game player for them, as we saw with his AFCON winning penalty. The Netherlands played a very attacking style in the Euros and throughout qualifying for the World Cup. This is a style that Dutch fans want to see, and they can often be a little bit snobbish when it comes to the game of football and how it should be played. This means there is often a lot of scrutiny on the team and how they play. Depay reaps the rewards of this attacking style. In qualifying, he scored 12 goals and assisted 6, which is a ludicrous amount of production in only 10 matches. They didn't have Van Dijk at the Euros, and his ability could prove key in their attacking system. The emergence of Cody Gakpo is also an exciting one for the Dutch, as he can play in the 10 and drive the ball with intent. In terms of tactics, with the Netherlands style, it often means that they get caught out at the back. In qualifying, they averaged 3.3 goals scored per game, but were also susceptible at the back on the counter-attack. The only teams that pushed them on this were Norway and Turkey. However, against switched-on teams, they can get found out, such as they did against the Czech Republic at the Euros. With Van Dijk now back, it's likely that they will be able to press on with an attacking style. They lack an out-and-out left wing-back to complement Dumfries, and they have played Blind there recently, who is more of an outball to the rest of the team rather than that dynamic option that they would probably want. They may give Malacia a chance there. Dumfries has a much more advanced role in which he offers width and direct running down the right and usually provides a big goal threat, again, as we saw in the Euros. Key player, Memphis Depay. Despite what happens at club level, Memphis Depay is a wondrous player for his country with similar parallels to how Neymar is for Brazil coming into mind. England have one of the best squads. It's up for debate, actually. Do they have one of the best squads? Many feel that England have one of the best squads in world football. If they had better centre-backs, Southgate would have the freedom of any formation that he wanted due to the dexterity and quality of these England players. The mixtures of different skill sets combined with their talent and technical ability make this one of the best talent pools in years for England. The three at the back seems like the sensible choice given that the centre-back options are the weakest part of the team. This makes sense as it allows the wing-backs to get into dangerous positions as well, and with England having a lot of players with similar profiles such as Trent and Trippier, Shaw and virtually all the forwards, it means that they can have consistency in games when they introduce substitutes onto the field. They were brilliant in qualifying, conceded just 3 and scored 39. And tactically, as previously stated, the 3 at the back seems the strongest option in the big matches because of the stability that it offers at the back. And with Walker on the right, it allows a right wing back to be given a very advanced position, given that Walker's ability to cover in behind. Bellingham will be important tactically for this side when it comes to progressing the ball and looking to break lines. He's going to allow England to get their forward players on the ball as much as possible, which is what England need to do to be successful this winter. In terms of key player, I'm going to go with Declan Rice. Declan Rice was immense at the Euros and added about 20 million to his price tag from that tournament alone. He's becoming a top central midfielder for West Ham, but is also astute in his defensive duties, and that is where he becomes key for England. I think Declan holds the key in allowing Bellingham to be let off the leash for England and will ultimately mean England don't need to play with a conventional number 10. Iran. Strong again in qualifying and have really cemented themselves as big players in Asian qualifying over the last 10 years. Only lost once in Phase 3 qualifying. They also beat Cambodia 14-0 in Phase 2 qualifying. And despite qualifying for the World Cup back in 2018, this is arguably their strongest squad ever, with more players than ever playing in Europe. Tactically, despite smashing a few teams in qualifying, expect them to be very pragmatic and often make use of their tight double pivot and attacking midfielder to create a 3-man midfield. This also involves the wingers tracking back to form a midfield 5. Azmoun up front does a lot of lateral running into the channels to pick up the ball when it's punted forwards. The wingers, Jahanbakhsh and Golizadeh, are excellent at beating a man out wide and coming inside on their preferred foot. And despite having Azmoun, their best player, and Taremi, who's currently at Porto, we've spoken about him several times on the channel, who are both exciting striking options, they persist to play with a single striker most matches. The question is, which one will they go for? Or will they utilise Taremi as an impact sub? So, key player, I've spoken about him a couple of times, Sardar Azmoun. Azmoun is the talismanic figure for Iran. He is a mobile striker who also runs the channels while still offering physicality up front. He is seen in Iran as the heir to their greatest ever player, Ali Dai. The USA finished 3rd in their qualifying group and only just managed to secure an automatic qualification spot as they finished level on points with Costa Rica, who ended up in 4th. This is seen as the golden generation of USA talent, with pretty much all of their stars being young and upcoming. However, there is this idea being thrown around that Greg Berhalter isn't the right man for the job. I've seen that quite a lot. Finishing 3rd in qualifying behind Mexico and Canada was seen as a mini failure for USA, and they dropped points against the likes of Costa Rica, Jamaica and El Salvador. It also seems like Berhalter doesn't know his best team, with players like Gio Reyna not being able to cement a starting spot, whilst players playing outside of Europe's top 5 leagues seem to be able to start. Tactically, this is another divisive topic with US soccer at the minute. Berhalter has been labelled a gimmicky hipster by media outlets because of his weird tactics that often don't fit the style of players that he has at his disposal, according to certain people's opinions. For example, he desperately wants to play with a playmaking 6, but this isn't really what Tyler Adams is about as a player, and it doesn't suit what he's best at. He is also unwilling to play a 10, which is a stumbling block for the side at times as they struggle to create. Berhalter also instructs his side to press heavily, but when it doesn't come off, the USA are susceptible to being cut through like a hot knife through American salted butter. Another problem tactically is that they have Yunus Musa and Weston McKennie, who are similar players, and despite both being brilliant, Berhalter is reluctant to play them together. The key player, Christian Pulisic. Pulisic has got an excellent record for the US men's national team, having scored 21 goals in 52 caps. If anyone is going to make something happen for this side, it's probably him. This is Wales' second ever World Cup appearance, with the last one being in 1958. This golden generation of Welsh football fully deserves a World Cup appearance based on their performances over the last 8 or so years. And after Qatar, Wales is the smallest country to qualify for the World Cup in terms of population, with roughly just 3 million people. Gareth Bale was pivotal in the qualifying campaign, scoring 6 and assisting 3 of Wales' 14 goals. Tactically, Wales are virtually guaranteed to play a back 5 formation. This allows Wales to have Nico Williams and Connor Roberts as advanced as possible in attack, but also offers defensive solidity. The question will be whether Wales play with Kiefer Moore up top or have Bale in there as a false 9. Both of these options have worked well for Wales in the past. However, Kiefer Moore's physicality could come in handy against USA defenders who can be a bit wet behind the ears, shall we say. US fans are fuming about that, aren't you? Wales will look to sit deep and hit sides on the counter-attack by utilising their pace out wide. Key player, of course, it's Gareth Bale. His clutch ability to come up big when called upon is the reason that Wales are even in this World Cup, and there shouldn't be a doubt in anyone's mind that he's not going to be up for this competition. Argentina. Lionel Scaloni is doing an exceptional job in charge of Argentina in what is his first managerial role at senior level. Scaloni was Sampaoli's assistant at both Sevilla and Argentina, and eventually inherited the job when Sampaoli left. He has been in charge for over 40 matches now and has only lost on 4 occasions. With the real judgment coming at the World Cup, it will be interesting to see how this relatively inexperienced manager handles it. Messi has also made comments about his future, stating that his future depends on what Argentina do at the World Cup, which again adds unnecessary pressure on the team, but oh well. In terms of tactics, they have an elbow set up in which Molina doesn't venture too far forward on the right, which allows Messi and De Paul to combine in advanced areas. Acuna is a much more attacking fullback and is skillful with the ball and has an excellent delivery. With Argentina playing a 4-3-3 system, their goal is to keep the ball as much as possible. This tailors towards Messi as it limits the amount of pressing he has to do. Paredes, Lo Celso and De Paul have great engines on them, which allows them to play with intensity in midfield. The key man, of course, despite many suggesting that he is finished, Lionel Messi still turns up and performs for his country. He's their joint top scorer with 7 goals in qualifying and has played in 14 of Argentina's 16 qualifiers. This will be Saudi Arabia's 6th World Cup. They qualified 2nd in their group despite having Australia and Japan in their group as well. They utilise pace on the flanks combined with flair in forward areas to their advantage. Most of their squad is made up from players who play in their domestic league, with not many household names in the team. Tactically, they focus on attacking through their right side of Al Barak and Al Muwalad to get the ball into the box for poacher Al Sheri. Sharani is a lightning-quick left-back to keep an eye on and is their Kyle Walker in a sense. And Al Dosori is the captain of the side and is a direct winger who can come inside and cause a little bit of chaos. In terms of key men for Saudi Arabia, Al Muwaled and Al Dasari will be the key wingers, utilising that counter-attacking pace to try and give Saudi Arabia a chance in this World Cup. Mexico finished 2nd in their qualifying group, level on points with Canada. They've been experimenting with a few different lineups over the last few international windows, and it's hard to tell exactly how they'll line up at the World Cup, with Henry Martin potentially taking Raul Jimenez's spot. This is going to be their 8th consecutive World Cup appearance. They have a nice mixture of players playing in Europe as well as Liga MX in their squad. Tactically, Mexico pretty much always play with a 4-3-3 with a holding midfielder and 2 8s either side. They're a hard-working team off the ball, and they press to win the ball back if they lose it. The striker is very much pivotal in how they play, either in getting on the end of crosses or being a pivot point in possession. They often give their fullbacks license to get forward as well. Key player, Edson Alvarez. He is a brilliant number 6, currently playing for Ajax. He's a defensive beast in the central areas of the pitch and is very tidy in his tackle execution as well. The midfielder is averaging 2.3 tackles per game in Eredivisie this season. And if Mexico lose the ball in advanced areas, expect Alvarez to be a big part of stopping opposition counterattacks, as well as marking strikers out of matches and cutting up passing lanes. Poland, this is a sort of Jekyll and Hyde team. They scored 30 goals in qualifying and were pretty positive going forward. However, they only tend to play on the front foot when they're heavy favourites. When playing against better sides, they do tend to be very negative and sit deep and ask the opposition to break them down. Tactically, their 3 at the back often becomes a 5 when out of possession, and they're a side not too bothered about controlling a match because they averaged 40.3% possession in their Nations League campaign and only averaged 1 goal per game. Their centre-backs aren't the fastest. You've got Kamil Glik, for example, who's an excellent defender but simply does not have the pace to run backwards. This means that they do sit deep and they do play that exceptionally well, with the Polish defenders being very adept at winning battles in the box and playing a frustrating brand of football. Lewandowski has a different role for Poland as he does for Barca. For Barca, he stays centrally and focuses on finishing all the chances that he gets. For Poland, he understands that his role must be different as he often drops deeper to receive the ball and bring the other players into play. Lewandowski is the key man, and he's what makes this Poland team good. He scored 9 goals in qualifying, but offers so much more in terms of being someone who always wants the ball and being a player you can rely on to get you out of trouble. Not only is he a goal scorer, but he can create as well. He provided an amazing assist against Wales in the Nations League, and with Lewandowski in the team, he gives them a chance. France qualifying 1-5, drew 3. France must be frustrating for their fans. They have unparalleled attacking talent in multiple positions, but Deschamps' reluctance to take the handbrake off limits how much damage they can do. They drew to Bosnia and Ukraine twice in qualifying due to that conservative approach. When they take the handbrake off, they batter people. For example, Kazakhstan 8-0. Despite this, Deschamps still has a reluctance to fully go for it and take that handbrake off. They have been experimenting with Coman at the right wing-back position recently, which is a step in the right direction, so hopefully that can continue for more exciting football. However, it looks like they'll line up with a defensive double pivot in Tchouaméni and Kante. Tactics-wise, in the Euros, they mostly played 4-3-3 before switching to a 3-4-1-2 against Switzerland. It seems that they will continue to use the 3-4-1-2, given that it allows for a better balance from the squad. The purpose of this formation is to have 3 attackers as advanced as possible to take away defensive responsibility from Mbappe, who has played out wide at times, and Theo Hernandez's ball progression down the left is immensely valuable to this tactic, which we dive into in depth in the in-depth preview of France, which is on the channel right now if you want to watch it. They have experimented with Coman as a right wing back, but it will probably be the more defensive option of Pavard that is allowed to go further forward. The key player, of course, is Kylian Mbappe. It's a no-brainer, with Deschamps finally looking like he's building the team around him. It shows the importance of the 23-year-old already. Australia qualified through the Inter-Confederation playoffs where they beat Peru on penalties. This is probably the weakest squad that they've had heading into the World Cup, with no real standout stars in their ranks. And head coach Graham Arnold enjoyed a success with the Australian team as a player, scoring 19 in 56 games for the Socceroos, but now faces a big challenge as they open their campaign against a France side that's probably going to take no prisoners. In terms of tactics, Australia lack the quality to be a team that dominates matches start to finish, and often will attack as and when they can, and are subsequently a low-scoring side. This is a problem for them, obviously, as they don't have that superstar to take the chances when they come up. What they need is a Tim Cahill, but Australia also lacks pace, so counter-attacks are going to be limited as well. Their chance creation will largely come from central midfielders Jackson Irvine and Riley McGree, who Championship fans will be fully aware of, but it's going to be a tough one for them. Key player Jackson Irvine. Irvine scored 5 and assisted 4 in qualifying, but we have to remember that the opposition Australia face in qualifying is far from the levels of opponents that they will face at Qatar. So as I said, it could be tough, but he is the most likely player to make things happen for them. So because we're going to talk about Denmark now, who have a qualifying record of winning 9 and losing just 1. It was the last game against Scotland, 2-0. And Denmark made a strong case for being pound for pound the best team in European qualifying, with only 1 loss, which came after they had qualified. They also only conceded 3 goals in qualifying. There's a lot of buzz around Denmark right now. Wingback Joachim Mæhle continued to be a huge threat in qualifying with 5 goals scored. Denmark also came away with the famous victory against France in the Nations League recently, beating them 2-0 and subsequently relegating France in the process. Tactically, they have had continued success with their 3-4-2-1 formation after the Euros. However, with the emergence of players such as Christensen and Skov Olsen, they have moved towards a 4-3-3 in recent matches. This enables coach Kasper Hulmund to play that attacking brand of football that he wants to, but it also allows him to keep the balance between attack and defence. Mæhle's width is essential for this in the side, in allowing Damsgaard to take up inside positions as well. A key man for Denmark, Pierre-Emil Højbjerg, he plays a progressive role for them, taking up positions more advanced to what you would see for Spurs. And of course, Christian Eriksen, although you knew that, he is still the fulcrum of the side, and he made a total of 8 key passes against France in the Nations League recently. That's good. Back-to-back World Cup appearances for the Tunisians. Come on. They shithoused their way to the World Cup after beating Mali thanks to an own goal, despite Mali dominating for 90 minutes, and then went to draw 0-0 against Mali in the second leg to secure their spot. They're not really an exciting team. No real individuals standing out apart from Khazri and Sliti, who are good players on their day. They have a tough group with France and Denmark in there, so it could get ugly. Tactically, Tunisia are 1000% going to sit back and hope that they can nick a goal. They scored 5 goals in their 3 matches at the 2018 World Cup, but are going to be far less adventurous this time, with the squad not being what it used to be. Expect the 4-3-3 to become a 4-5-1 for the majority of matches, and also expect them to try and frustrate the opposition as much as possible. It will be interesting to see if they can force opposition into mistakes, such as being red-carded. Yeah. In terms of key player, I don't really know. I'm struggling. I mean, this isn't really a side with star players, but Wahbi Khazri is probably the player that could create something out of nothing for them. He also played at the last World Cup and has been an ever-present for over the last decade. You've also got Birmingham's Man United loanee, Hannibal Mejbri, who's also in the squad. He works so hard, very, very tenacious, but does have a booking or two in him. I would not be surprised if I saw him sent off during this World Cup. Germany, qualifying record, they won 9, they lost just 1. That was a 2-1 defeat to North Macedonia. They meant business in qualifying, and after their Euros disappointment, they may be out for revenge. Hansi Flick is a ruthless manager when it comes to wanting the best, and that was evident in the goal scoring when he initially took over. 36 goals in qualifying. However, there are some problems of late, which we dive into in a specific preview on Germany, so go check that one out once you've enjoyed this one, as I said previously. And they've been struggling front of goal and failing to win matches convincingly. Tactics-wise, Hansi Flick prefers a 4-2-3-1, but has also dabbled with a 3-4-2-1 before going back to the 4-2-3-1, similar to what he used at Bayern. This is very much a Bayern Munich-based team, which is normal as Germany's success has been built upon copying the Bayern Munich model, and with Flick in charge, this will be more present than ever. Their system is based around getting the best out of their 3 attacking midfielders and being able to break the lines vertically and allowing them to drive at the opponent's key men. The key man is going to be Musiala. He has made himself crucial to Germany over the past few months and offers something not many others in the talent pool have. His excellent ability to break lines with vision, but also his excellent ball carrying skills. He's a relentless dribbler. He completes multiple dribbles per game. He averaged 3 successive dribbles per 90 at a success rate of 70% in the Nations League, despite playing centrally for most of the part, which makes it harder because you're surrounded by players all the time. Joshua Kimmich is also crucial, but again, that's in the Germany preview. Go watch that one. Spain, 1-6, drew 1 and lost 1. The key points here when it comes to Spain is that they are still somewhat of a transitional period after their decent Euros, but also recognise that there is work to do if they want to progress to the stage of winning international tournaments once again. Once they had a qualification secured, Luis Enrique started to introduce some fringe players into the squad with the long-term vision in mind. Brian Hill, Jeremy Pino and Gavi all spring to mind. Add those to the new Barcelona youth contingent coming through under Xavi, and there could be an entire new-look Spain side by Qatar. Tactically, before the Euros, there were a few people wondering if Enrique had the tools at his disposal to play a possession-based style. Spain did keep possession for large portions in the Euros, but weren't as effective with possession as they could have been. The rise of Xavi's Barcelona, accompanied with all the Spanish La Masia talent coming through, has early similar parallels to Pep's team that very much influenced Spanish football, and their success was largely built on that. So let's see where that goes. In terms of key players, it's one of those players from La Masia, Pedri. Pedri will win the Ballon d'Or in this decade. He's that good. He will become what Iniesta was to Barcelona and Spain. There's no doubt about it. And by Qatar, he will be even better and hopefully fitter than he was at the Euros. Costa Rica were very unlucky not to qualify automatically as they finished level on points with the US but missed out on goal difference. However, they did qualify through their intercontinental playoffs in which they defeated New Zealand 1-0. Despite being a side with relatively unknown players, they are still a decent footballing side because their coach, Luis Fernando Suarez Guzman, knows how to get the best out of them as a unit and sets them up in a very, very difficult way to beat. As I said, you can probably guess this isn't going to be a side hell-bent on keeping the ball or being expansive in attack. Instead, it's a side that plays with a bank of 5 and a bank of 4 in front of it and attacks very rarely. Their main source of attack is balls in behind to the pacey wingers or the strikers. Their wingers are also given freedom to carry the ball when they receive it and are a big source of chance creation for the Costa Ricans. Sunderland winger Jewison Bennett scored 2 goals against South Korea during the last international break, but the key player, Keylor Navas. There must be so many kids in Costa Rica named Keylor. Such are the levels of displays this man has been putting in over the last 8 or so years. He's the reason they're in the World Cup, having put in an amazing performance against New Zealand in the playoff, in which he made 4 fantastic saves and was man of the match. Japan had a few hiccups against Oman and Saudi Arabia in qualifying, losing both 1-0. However, they have been fairly reliable since those losses and have put in some decent performances to get people excited about them. Beating Australia twice was massive for their campaign and a sign that Japanese football could be the hipsters' choice this winter. Many will remember them being fantastically technical in previous World Cups. That's the sort of stereotypical view on them, and we should see the same style at this year's World Cup, with Japan having a squad full of diminutive talent. Tactically, Japan's main aim is to keep the ball on the ground, thus catering to their squad, which is largely made up of footballers with a low centre of gravity. The speed at which they pass the ball is also very, very easy on the eye. They're going to be a great watch in this World Cup. Another interesting factor is that the squad has quite a few wingers with blistering pace. This allows them to be direct in exploitation of spaces in transition and allows for fast turnovers if needed. At 29, Junior Ito plays for Genk in the Belgian Pro League and is tearing up the division this season, having created 24 big chances in 30 matches. He will be heading into the World Cup in fine form. Belgium 1-6, drew 2. This is the last chance for Belgium. For the most part of their qualifying campaign, their starting 11 average age was over 30. Doku is a future star and could be fighting for a starting spot by Qatar. Thogden Hazard and Yannick Carrasco are fighting it out for the left wing-back role. They qualified easily, only drawing to Wales and the Czech Republic. But Belgium are an ageing side now, with Qatar presumably being the last tournament for the majority of this golden generation, and this could add to the pressure for these Belgian players. Tactically, they will always look to keep the ball for long periods of the match. They had on average 70% possession during qualifying. They play with a slow tempo and look to unpick defences to create high-quality chances in which they proceed to pounce upon. And they average 3.1 goals per game in the campaign. They also utilise width and look to Meunier to deliver quality balls into the box. It's not uncommon to see Thogden Hazard at the back post ready for those crosses as well. So keep an eye out for that. Key player, Kevin De Bruyne. The quality in creation and simultaneous ability to play in a double pivot when needed means that Belgium don't have to play with a typical number 10 without limiting their presence in the final third. Canada, this is their first World Cup in 36 years and only their second ever. They are managed by the young English manager John Herdman, who hails from Durham and was previously manager of Canadian women after a spell managing New Zealand women. Their squad oozes young talent, and here are just a few of the names. You've got Alphonso Davies, 21, Jonathan David, Tajon Buchanan of Club Bruges, Ike Ugbo of Troyes, who came through the Chelsea Academy, Liam Miller, FC Basel, who came through at Liverpool. Canada were the first team from CONCACAF to qualify for the World Cup, and despite many young players, they also have experience in their squad, with captain Atiba Hutchinson with 94 caps and Reading and ex-QPR's Junior Hoylett. They are tactically pretty flexible and have used an array of different players and formations throughout this campaign, which is fascinating for a side without an endless list of megastars. They play attacking football on the front foot against the lesser teams, but when they're playing the likes of the USA, they opted for a sort of smash and grab game plan against the USA. They only had 34% possession, but still created 2 big chances, took those 2 chances and won the game 2-0. Key man, Carl Larin. Carl Larin is a striker that came through at Orlando before a move to Besiktas. He's a target man who has some mobility to his game. He is a particularly useful player who is that focal point for who Jonathan David can play off. We'll have seen him at Lille this season, that David plays best as a second striker, and Larin facilitates that. Morocco were flawless in qualifying, scoring 20 goals and only conceding 1 goal. It's back-to-back World Cups for the Moroccans, despite missing out on the previous 4 competitions, despite not winning a match in 2018. They were very exciting to watch, and not much has changed, really. It's a very balanced squad, and as the usual features of a lot of flair players. However, with En-Nesyri coming into his own since then, they look a lot more complete now that he has found his feet for club and country. Tactically, their best players are on the wings. Ziyech and Boufal are both flair players who cut inside and cause damage. Morocco are able to keep width excellently, with PSG's Hakimi playing in a Cancelo at Man City type role at left back, and Bayern Munich's Mazraoui playing right back. Both of these fullbacks burst forward at any opportunity and will cause damage, I would suspect. Azzedine Anouahi and Sofiane Amrabat provide a physical double pivot and make it very hard for opponents to attack centrally. Key players. Hakim Ziyech is a player that Morocco look to when wanting to make things happen. He's always on the ball for them, and it'll be no surprise if he averages over 60 touches a game for the Moroccans. Croatia won 7, drew 2 and lost just once, still reaping the rewards of reaching the World Cup final, is having a high seeding for draws, and this meant that the only real challenges that they had in their group was Russia. They don't have the biggest talent selection pool, but they do extremely well to produce so many good footballers for a country of only 4 million people. Despite having a relatively easy qualification group, they didn't rest on their laurels and only conceded 4 goals in their qualifying campaign. Luka Modric has also announced that this will be his last tournament for Croatia, and it's very much the end of an era. Tactically, whilst wanting to be hard to beat, Croatia actually have a lot of footballers who do well when in control of possession, which is a large contributing factor to their play style. With all the technical players Croatia have, it means that they play a possession-based style and keep the ball away from their opponents as much as they can. The wing-backs, Sosa and Juranovic, contribute towards this, with them often taking up high and wide positions. Sosa is in exceptional form for Stuttgart this season and is proving to be an excellent left-back for the German outfit. And Kramaric often comes deep to receive the ball before spinning in behind. He too is a technical player that likes to join in the play. In terms of key players, another easy one, Luka Modric. Modric's box-to-box role at the age of 36 is crazy, but he continues to perform exceptionally well. He only played 6 times in qualifying, but that is due to the Croatia management managing his game time and not only over-relying on him, which is nice to see, to be honest. Brazil qualifying record was 1-14, drawn 3, lost 0. Neymar is the talismanic man for Brazil. He registered 16 goals and assists in qualifying and in only 10 appearances as well. Brazil have a team full of attacking midfielders and wingers, but they lack some star quality in some positions, such as both fullback positions, but they do lack a true number 9 as well. This isn't anything new. That's been the case for quite some time. You remember that they had Fred back in the day starting matches for them. Vinicius Jr. scored his first goal for the national team in just March of this year and has looked in excellent goal scoring form for them in the run-up to this tournament. The manager is Tite, and he has 71 matches in charge of Brazil and has only lost 5 of them. Tactics-wise, without a backboard to play off, there is a lot of fluidity between the front 4 positions. Because of the high number of technical players as well that they have at their disposal, they are able to keep the ball for extended periods and have a high average possession each game. The forwards don't press that much to win the ball, but Casemiro and Guimarães work exceptionally hard to win it back in transitions. And in possession, the wingers stay wide and look to come inside once they receive the ball. The key player is Neymar. He is the guy for Brazil. This is a Brazil side where there isn't loads of experience to draw upon apart from Thiago Silva, and therefore Neymar is crucial in that sense when it comes to young forwards coming through. This Brazil side has an abundance of attacking talent coming through, but Neymar is the only irreplaceable one. Watch out for Serbia. Serbia have an excellent balance of stars and squad players, which results in a nicely balanced team that are all familiar with each other's games. Most of the Serbia players have been playing with each other for quite some time now, and they've become accustomed to each other's play styles, which is important in international football due to the lack of contact time between players and coaches. The big question was whether they could find a way of playing Vlahovic and Mitrovic together, and with this system, they're playing brilliantly together. In my opinion, they'll do really, really well in this World Cup. They'll be the potential dark horses, I'd say. Tactically, they might seem short or in wide presence at first glance, but the wing-backs of Kostic and Petkovic are very well versed in their attacking roles. Kostic is arguably the best crosser of the ball in Europe and also possesses that ability to beat a man with pace as well. And they also make the most of central midfield midfielders, Milinkovic, Savic and Lukic, in the sense that they get forward and join in with the play as two progressive eights. Milinkovic, Savic used to play as a shadow striker because of his technical ability going forward as well. And Sasha, Lukic and Milinkovic, Savic offer attack and creativity, but also offer diligent defensive work all over the pitch. Tadic is crucial to this system as he is the link that connects the midfield to the two strikers. Tadic is the reason that Serbia are able to have both Mitrovic and Vlahovic in the starting lineup together. In terms of key men, I'm going to stick with Dusan Tadic because Tadic is one of the more irreplaceable players for Serbia. When it comes to strikers, they have a few players that fit the profile. Mitrovic, Vlahovic, Jovic as well. However, they don't have a player capable of playing the number 10 position as well as Tadic. Switzerland caused a lot of upsets. They finished top of their group despite Italy being, of course, the favourites. They were able to draw twice against Italy in qualifying. They knocked out France in the Euros and were only knocked out on penalties by Spain. A big part of the next gen Switzerland team is that they lacked a striker for years, but with Mbolo getting better every season since his injury, they look like they have the final piece in the puzzle. Tactically, Switzerland look to keep the ball, but also limit how open they are in transitions. They averaged 63.6% possession in qualifying and only conceded 2 goals. However, because of their cautiousness, they also struggled to create at times and were held to goalless draws against Northern Ireland away in qualifying. And with the emergence of young attacking talent, they could also offer to be a little bit more progressive and ambitious in their play. But it's very much safety first. Akanji's ability on the ball and reading of the play is key to their possession style. He's also exceptional in the air, winning 71% of his aerial duels in qualifying. In terms of key players, Xherdan Shaqiri. Shaqiri will be a key man for Switzerland until the day that he retires. He was again their best player in qualifying and was the man at the helm of any creative play that they did provide. In qualifying, Shaqiri had the most assists with 4 for Switzerland and also ranked highest in key passes, 3.7. This is a very exciting Cameroon side with a lot of baller-type players playing for them. Vincent Aboubakar was excellent in the AFCON, scoring 8 goals and finishing up as the top scorer. Definitely a player that could score a few in this tournament. Their attack is a lot better than their defence generally in terms of quality, with their forwards and Anguissa being the best players at their disposal. Cameroon will be hoping to improve on their record from previous World Cups. In 2018, they didn't qualify. In 2014, they were the first team to be knocked out. In 2010, the second to be knocked out. So they'll be expecting much more in this one. Tactically, this Cameroon side have a lot of pace in forward areas, most notably in their front 3. We should expect Mbeumo to stay wider and Karl Toko Ekambi to be more of an inside forward and for him to be waiting at the back post for any of those crosses that come in. With KTE and Aboubakar and Choupo-Moting all huge threats in the box, Cameroon are a side likely to pump the ball into the box as often as they can. The key player, Andre Frank Zambo Anguissa, another Napoli player to watch out for at this World Cup. Anguissa is pivotal in establishing midfield dominance in this side with the work rate and the bite that he offers. He's also excellent at escaping the press, as Liverpool found out in the Champions League recently. And with Anguissa's ability to skip past a man in midfield and split lines, it makes Cameroon a formidable counter-attacking team. Portugal qualified via the playoffs after finishing second to Serbia in the group stages. They have talent in every position, experienced players such as Ronaldo, but also have exciting players such as Leao and Mendes coming through since the Euros. They were pretty free scoring in qualifying, scoring 17 goals from their 8 matches, but were more negative in the Nations League when coming up against better sides. Jota was their second top scorer in qualifying with 5, but is now set to miss the tournament. This does, however, open the door for Rafa Leao coming in. Tactically, they aren't a side that can press because they have to include Ronaldo in the team. However, they're also not a side that wants to keep the ball either, as they only averaged 50.3% possession in their Nations League campaign. Don't expect a specific style from Portugal. Instead, expect them to try and pass to their best players in the hope that they can produce something. Expect players like Bruno and Bernardo to take a lot of touches in possession, as they're given license to do what they want as long as they have quality in their output, and expect a lot of crosses. Key players, Ronaldo is always going to be seen as their star man. However, I think the fullbacks could have a big part to play in Portugal's tournament. Cancelo and Mendes are effectively wingers and are better at going forward than they are at the back. And in order to utilise Ronaldo, they also have to get crosses into the box. It's a key aspect, and these two provide it. Ghana have got a new look squad with dual nationality players such as Inaki Williams, previously Spain, Tariq Lamptey, previously of England, switching their allegiances. They've got a lot of attacking talent who are able to press high with their endless engines, and high levels of stamina and physicality is also a big part of their game, and we should expect them to bully a few opponents. Salisu is brilliant at the back, but Amate, as we've seen in the Premier League, isn't a natural centre-back. They also have Jiku, who is a left-sided centre-back, but is also probably still a bit better at right-sided centre-back than Amate. Tactically, Ghana are pretty much forced into playing a 4-1-4-1 due to having so many attacking stars to choose from. However, they're fortunate to have Partey in the squad because, of course, he's comfortable playing as a single pivot. The two centre midfielders of Andre Ayew and Kudos were quite adventurous in qualifying and got forward often. Due to the attacking nature of the midfielders, I can't see Tariq Lamptey starting at right back. Instead, it's likely to be a more conservative Odoi that starts. The key player, Thomas Partey, linchpins the side well and allows the attacking players to have a base in which to build from. His reliability on the ball is utilised alongside his ability to destroy in the middle. Uruguay. This is probably one of their best ever starting 11s. They've always had stars, but this starting 11 has talent all over the pitch, and especially the spine of the team is incredibly strong. Not only do they have Suarez and Nunez, but Cavani is also available. This is Suarez and Cavani's fourth World Cup together. They have depth in midfield with Valverde and Bentancur, with Torreira waiting in the wings as well, and the strength of the squad possibly makes you wonder why they haven't done a little bit better in qualifying. With the way the South American qualification is set up, it heavily favours the bigger teams who have untold depth, and in a knockout scenario, Uruguay have the tools available to cause a few upsets in this World Cup. Tactically, Uruguay don't score many goals as it goes, but they also are pretty tight at the back. Importantly, they use the 4-4-2 to their advantage and structure themselves with two banks of four. Due to Uruguay being a country of roughly only 3 million people, they harness the underdog mentality massively, and it's evident in the way that they play. There is an excellent balance all over the pitch. In this suggested formation, for example, you got Nunez as a willing runner who's going to work the channels all day, which complements Suarez, who doesn't have the legs anymore, but is still a fine finisher. And they also have Bentancur, who is an exceptional passer of the ball, has great range and vision to find Nunez in behind, whilst also having Valverde, who will partner him well, working exceptionally hard next to him. The key player, though, Georgian de Arrascaeta, despite being a name probably unfamiliar to many European football fans, de Arrascaeta has been very impressive in qualifying for Uruguay, netting 5 times in only 7 matches. The winger / number 10 plays for Flamengo in Brazil and is cementing his place in the side. South Korea participating in their 11th World Cup, the most of any Asian team. Son, of course, is their superstar, but they would probably still qualify without him, just not as convincingly. A lot of their squad ply their trade in the K-League. However, they have a lot of talent playing in Europe, such as Hwang Wee-jo, who's at Olympiacos, ex-Bordeaux. You've got Heung-min Son of Spurs, of course, and Hee-chan Hwang of Wolves. You've got Jae-sung Lee at Mainz and Min-jae Kim of Napoli, just to name a few. Tactically, in qualifying, South Korea have been a possession-heavy team who place significance on creating chances and taking as many shots as possible. They have quite a dynamic attacking midfield trio in Son, Lee and Hwang, all of which are mobile and capable of interchanging positions to increase fluidity in game. And despite being possession heavy in qualifying, they will probably play a fluid counter-attack in the World Cup, as they have the perfect tools to do it. The key man has to be Heung-min Son. Son, of course, is that key man for them both on and off the pitch, and he influences matches so much as the captain. He is currently on 104 caps, and in that time he has scored 35 goals. So there you have it, guys. If you enjoyed that preview, make sure you check out all the preview content for the Qatar World Cup. I'm going to be out there as well, so much content coming on the James Lawrence Allcott channel. So make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell to not miss a single upload.